Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Monday, I believe today is the 19th, I'm sorry. And this is our this will be our chart lesson for today, our price action chart lesson. And we only had a few entries today, but they were all great entries. The market was fairly strong today as far as an upward trend. And you can see we really trended up until early afternoon, went into the small little trading range, and then we kind of sold off after that. But I also believe these two legs are pretty close. This is what I was pushing for today, was a measured leg off of this. And you can see, actually I think this was where you would start the next measurement. That's the low point of this pullback. And you can see that's about where prices got to on the trend. We did break higher, but it didn't hold, it didn't last, and then prices sold off after that. So I do believe this was indeed two measured legs. There's your, let me just show you this again. There's your first leg from there to, actually it was probably from there to there. That's close enough. And then it's going to be, here's your two-legged pull back in the middle. You place that right there, and you can see that is exactly to the tick where that trend kind of stalled, and we were finally able to break higher, but it was just, all it was a trap. It broke higher. It just took a little bit for the momentum to wane. There's still a lot of people thinking long at this point after a trend that's gone up all day like that, and while they're buying, the smart traders are unloading, and eventually the tide turns, and you can see them prices sold off. And it was basically a trend channel. And the way I got this upper line, which kind of gave me an idea of when to look for the reversal, not only were we looking for the two measured legs, we're also looking for, once prices reach the upper part of the trend channel, we're looking for them to correct at that point. And the way I got that was I just copied this line I had, and you can see I drew it off this first swing here, and I just caught the first two bars that it would touch, which were these, and they were perfect. And we did get a little stem here, but you notice prices closed inside the channel. But I copied that line, and you can see how that line pretty much held prices the rest of the day. And I copied it and I carried it to the top of the price action. And what do you know? That's exactly where prices made it to and turned. And I can, you can do this every day if you can find that trend line and find the right angle and so forth. And you can see that's a really good 45-degree angle. That's almost a perfect angle on your trend line, so that looked really good. And you can see that's exactly where prices sold off. And it was really tempting to go short here, but anytime the market's been that strong, you're better off to wait for a good setup. And you can see what would have happened if you had have gone short there. You would have got hung in this. As long as you kept your stop above the signal bar, which was that bar right there, you still would have survived this, but you would have had to ride this out, and it would have gotten a little hairy. But anyway, nevertheless, let's talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. I show 5 fairly decent entries today. Let's talk about them, and we'll go from there. All right, on our first trade here, right after the open this morning, we had this kind of a double top right here. We had this little break higher, and then we had a second entry long. So this is a breakout pullback long, but better than that, we really kind of had a second entry long here. And let me explain this one, because this one may be difficult for you to see, but here's your breakout above this double top right here. You had your pullback, then you had this attempt to go higher, and then we pulled back again, and then there's your second attempt to go higher. And normally, strictly by the rules, we should start the count over here, but this is still nothing more than a two-legged pullback to the EMA. And again, here's your first leg down, then you had your move up, and then here's your second leg back. And it wasn't much, because we really had this tight, we had this was resistance previously, and now it's acting as support. And when this bar turned and went higher, you could have gone long here, but it was better to go long right here. And I know you're going long at a high, but this is a breakout pullback. And a lot of people were looking for more down after this this really bearish leg, but this is an overnight, and sometimes that'll trick you. And so this was a good setup. It's a little hard to see, and if you didn't take it, that's okay, but it's there. There's your two legs back. It's a breakout pullback long. It's a two-legged pullback to the EMA and so forth. And so that's a great place to go long right there. And again, you could have gone long right here on this inside bar. The better place was probably, because this bar was very bullish, going long there. And it took it a minute to take on off. You can see that. But all the same, as long as you had your stop below here, or even if you moved it up below your entry bar, you still would have been okay. But normally it's best to keep your stop below your signal bar, which would have been right here. And you see that stop was never threatened, and then prices took off. So any runners were easily safe here. And this was a 97 to maybe 1401 2 area. So it was a nice 3 or 4 or 5 point move. So it was a great setup, and this was right out of the gate this morning. And then the next one, this was a second entry long, and let me show you this one. You got your pullback here, a move up, and then another pullback. And these are two measured legs. Now there's two legs in this move, but I don't want to get hung up in the weeds here. But this is really a two-legged move right here. And this is the first leg. It's two legs in the first leg, and then you had this measured leg here. And I believe if we measure this, you'll see that they're really close. There's your first leg, and then here's your second leg. Oh, that went a little bit further, but prices were trying to come back to this trend line area in here. They just couldn't make it. But this was a second entry long on a two-legged pullback to the EMA, and you got this nice, what happened was you had two overlapping bars, a little double bottom, and this is a pullback to test this breakout area, because when prices broke higher here, they took off, and you almost always come back and retest these areas. And if you move this line up there, you'll see that's a perfect retest. So this is a two-legged pullback, and that's a lot of times that's what you're looking for your target. And so if you went a little further than the EMA, or if you didn't quite get to your trend line, that's the reason, because we pulled back. The market was kind of strong, and we pulled back to test this, and it held. And so going long right here was a pretty good move. But if you didn't go long there, definitely when prices broke lower here and failed, you should have gone long above this or this bar. And again, that was a nice easy scalp going back to this high, and we kind of stalled right there. And then again, another two-legged pullback, this one to the trend line. And we got a little bit of a slight break here. It wasn't much of one, but it is a break all the same. And but what I want you to see more than anything are these two legs here. And you got your first leg right there. Then you got your little move up, and then you got your second leg right there. And then prices reversed, and we had the trend line. So you had the trend line acting as support. You've got the two legs back. You got the EMA. We closed back above the EMA, or right at the EMA. So, and again, it took it a second to work its way out, but quickly any runners would have been very easily safe here too. And this move was from about 1400 all the way up to 1408 or so. So that's about an 8-point move right there. That any of those runners would have gotten, and they were pretty much safe all the way up. And this would have been a good place to put your stop once you had this double bottom, because if we broke below that, then there was a good chance, especially after we touched the upper side of the trend channel line that I talked about earlier. So this trade right here was much harder to see, but remember, we were looking for a move about this size. And so our target was up here. So this trade was a little harder to see, but we were also should have had your trend line clone, hopefully, and moved up here. And you were thinking, well, hey, prices have to get up here before I'm probably going to see any kind of real correction, and or at least there's a good chance of that. Nothing's ever written in stone when you're trading. So, but let me show you this. You got your new high here. There's a pullback, another move higher, and then another pullback. So there's a two-legged pullback. And it didn't quite get to the EMA, and but the reason is we weren't done yet to the upside. And while this trade was a little harder to see, I promise you, if you went to a bigger chart, you would easily be able to see two legs back here, or I'm sorry, a smaller chart. And that's one thing you got to learn to do. You've got to learn to be able to see smaller moves and larger moves on the same chart. And while it may be hard to see this as one leg right here, if you went to a much bigger chart, you would easily see a good move up here, and then two legs back, and then another move here that was probably equal. So, but you got to learn to see this stuff on a single chart, because you don't want to be watching a bunch of charts, because that takes you, you need to be concentrating on one chart and learning to see everything on one chart, because it'll make you a better trader. And but hopefully you can see that now. Here's your new high. Prices are moving up. You got your high. There's your first leg down. Then you went back up and tested it again, and then you had another move back down. And so that's two legs back, and then prices broke higher. So if you saw that, it's also a breakout pullback where prices broke above here and tried to come back. But the market was really strong, and you can see that is a nice, strong, bullish move. And the trend had pretty much been up all morning. So, and we'd just come off the trend line down here. So we were looking for prices to come up here and possibly test this the top of the trend channel, which again we got by just cloning this line down here and dragging it to the top of the price action. And you can see that's exactly where prices went. And this is just a repeat of that. Here's your new high, your pullback, your move up, your next pullback, and then prices took off again. So there's your another second entry long right there. And this is we kind of made a double top right here and then pulled back again. So going above that is really a breakout pullback long. And these are on a much more micro level, but if you went to a smaller chart, you would see exactly the things I just said. And it's a little scary taking those, but when you start to see prices stay away from the EMA like this for this long, and you see a lot of little small choppy bars like that that just keep going higher or keep going lower like this, that's really a strong trend. It doesn't look like it, but this is a strong trend. And we were looking, and by the time we got here, we'd pretty much filled our second leg, but we still hadn't touched the upper trend line, and that's all this move up was. But if you saw that and took it, there was nothing wrong with it. I don't really like this, and I probably wouldn't have recommended that trade if I were sitting here watching the chart and we were watching this happen in real time. I probably wouldn't recommend you to take that trade. But if you saw it and you took it, there was nothing wrong with it, because it is a two-legged pullback and and it's also a double bottom. Hopefully you can see that right across there. You see that double bottom when we pulled back and tested it again, and we couldn't even close down there. That's what we're doing. When the market is trending up, we're looking for patterns, counter trend patterns, so double bottoms and breakout pullback longs and two-legged pullbacks to the EMA, two-legged pullbacks to the trend line. You're looking for reasons to get long in an uptrend, and then when you start to get a downtrend where prices are working down like this, then you're looking for reasons to get short. So that'll be double tops, two-legged pullbacks to the EMA, breakout pullback shorts, and things like that. So just you got to keep that in mind. And this market continues to work higher, but my guess is we're going to hang around this 1400 area. I could always be wrong, so we got to follow the price action. You don't want to be guessing, but my guess is, this is that one of those century marks, and it's very rare that we pass one of those quickly and move on. Usually prices are going to work around in that area and test both sides of it for a while before we go continue on. And but this market is just, even though I find it hard to believe, it just continues to hang in there and just keep working higher. And I mean, it wasn't just but a few weeks ago we were talking about 1300 area, and now here we are, we're already at 1400, and we may be testing the all-time highs, because that's generally what prices do. They seek out former strong support resistance areas and they retest them, and if they hold, then prices reverse, and if they don't hold, then we start to work in the other direction. So just be aware of that. And but that was our setups for today. There were only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them that were really good. Now there were other setups today. Don't take that wrong. There were some other setups, but I'm always talking about trying to take the key entries. And this one, I don't even know if I would count that one. So there's 4 really good ones. If you saw this one, nothing wrong with taking it. But that one was really hard to see. And so there were 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty good ones. And there were some shorts in there as well, if you didn't mind counter trend trading. I don't know if I necessarily, this was a very strong move up here, so going short from there is definitely questionable. You probably, or what you should be doing is looking for a long. And we did have this little two-legged pullback, and you see what would have happened if you'd have went long there. You would have got trapped, but prices had moved extremely far, and see how far they are and how long they've been away from that EMA. Prices just do not get away. And that's kind of the key here. That's why this one would have been really difficult to take, because it looks very similar to this, and if you'd have taken it here, you would have got stopped out and had a loser. But if you took it here, it would have worked. So you never know exactly what's going to happen. But the difference really between this entry right here and this entry up here is that we had just come off the trend channel line. We didn't know that at the time, but we had. And when we got up here, we hadn't got back to these same highs again, and that's likely to happen before we get a sell-off. And you can generally find these channels, and prices will just play off each side, and you can counter trend trade off these, but the better play is to always work to enter with trend. And so we wait on them to come back to here, and we know to expect to exit off of these generally, and we look to enter off the lower one. And if we were coming down, we're looking to enter off the higher one and exit off the lower one. So I'm going to wrap it up. It was a pretty good day. There were only a few entries, but the few entries we had mostly all had runners, and they were all good trades that moved higher. And so hopefully you made some money today. Hopefully you got a part of the trend. This is why we tell you don't counter trend trade, because if you tried to counter trend trade this anywhere up through here, by the time we got into late morning, it was obvious this was an upward trend, and the market had been trending really since 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's a long time, and you don't want to fight that trend, because if you'd have tried to enter anywhere up through here, you just would have got stopped out and got burned. And if you'd entered long anywhere in here, even if it wasn't a good entry, if you gave yourself about a 2-point stop, you would have made money today. So, and this is what I was talking about a while back. We're just not getting any trending days, but this is what we've been waiting on, and it gets a whole lot easier when it's trending like this if you stay with the trend. So just remember that. And I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.